Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Anbiya wal Mursaleen. This is Mujib Qazi and you're watching Dallas Roundup on VOK TV USA. I'm very excited to have a very special guest with us today, Jared Ross, who is running for Birdville Independent School District Board of Trustee. Jared, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mujib, for having me. And hello, everyone, especially those that are around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Mujib, thank you for inviting me to the mosque earlier today. I had a great time. It was a very nice, welcoming environment. So I appreciate any opportunity to meet with different members of the community. So I appreciate the invitation.
Certainly. And I really appreciate you taking the time out and volunteering yourself for the public service. Generally, people shy away from that, but it takes a lot of guts and spirit of volunteering and taking the time out from your family and your professions to go out and serve the community. First thing first, can you go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself for our audience, please?
Sure. Well, speaking of serving the community, that's all I've been doing my whole adult life. I'm a police officer for over 16 years now. I work in a nearby city here in Tarrant County, Texas, which is around Fort Worth. And I've been doing that for quite some time. And I've gotten a lot of experience working different areas in law enforcement, both in investigations, training, supervision. I do quite a bit of teaching at our police academy and other areas around. So my wife's a public school teacher. She's in her 20th year. So it's just kind of something that's in our family, in our DNA. So running for the school board was just another way for me to give back to my community.
Generally, I've seen police officer going for a sheriff position or captain and any other. Why school district for you?
Well, first and foremost, I have a first grader in the district, and we have one daughter, so we have one chance to get it right. We don't have room for any error. But she's a great kid. She's very smart, very bright, vivacious. She's a handful. She's 7 years old and going on 17. So she's certainly the reason why I'm invested in public education, at least for the years to come, for many years to come. We moved to North Richland Hills primarily for the school district. For those that don't know, Birdville ISD is named after an old town in northeast Tarrant County called Birdville. It no longer exists, but they kept the name of the school district to kind of maintain that heritage. But it serves the cities of North Richland Hills, Watauga, Haltom City, Richland Hills, some of Hearst, some of Fort Worth. So it's close to HEB area, Colleyville, Keller. Anyways, we moved to that area because the school district's great, and that's why my daughter's in the Birdville School District. But as a parent, I want to make sure that we're doing absolutely everything we can to make it as great as it can be. I'm not satisfied with the status quo, as I don't think any parent would be. So I'm not running because something's broken or wrong with the school district or with the current board. I'm just running because I think I bring some valuable insight, and my experience, I think, will bring some good characteristics to the board, and I'm just eager to take it to the next level.
Excellent, and I think that you have a right reason to run for the office, and we appreciate your service as a police officer, and sticking out your neck for the safety and security of the public, and now trying to secure the future of our younger generation. Is the race going to be at large, or it's divided into districts?
Our school district is, the 7 trustees are all at large. So they have them staggered. So every year, 2 or 3 seats come up for re-election. So this year there will be places 6 and 7 up for re-election in the spring. Early voting is April 25th, the week of April 25th, and then election day is May 7th. So the 2 incumbents, my understanding is, will be running. And right now I'm the only person that I know of that has decided to throw my name in the hat. So yeah, it's all open at large positions.
And why did you choose to run for the school district?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, I bring, I think my training and experience, my life experience inside and outside of work has given me the great skill set to solve problems together as a team. I've had a lot of experience working in group settings. You can imagine, as a police officer, I've dealt with a lot of different types of personalities, both from citizens and from other police officers. And I've had experience training, coaching, mentoring, even disciplining employees at times, and dealing with difficult conversations and working through difficult situations. I'm a problem solver by nature. I really enjoy rolling my sleeves up and tackling a problem, working as a team to figure out a solution when there doesn't seem to be one. And I think that's definitely a product of my job more than anything. But even in my personal life, through church, community groups, and volunteering and doing other leadership things outside of work, I think I bring a really valuable skill set to the school board.
What uh, what different would you do as a board of trustee compared to what is happening today if you get elected as a board of trustee?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I get a lot, right? And we were talking earlier at the mosque about, just trying to get people to understand and to pay attention to local elected offices, because oftentimes, if everything's kind of working and nothing's punching us in the face, we naturally have a tendency not to really notice stuff, and that's totally understandable. I've done the same thing. Um, and again, I'm not running necessarily because the school district or the school board is broken, but the democratic process is set up the way it is for a reason. In this case, these seats are 3-year terms. There are no term limits, but every 3 years, each trustee, of course, it's staggered, but they are held accountable to the citizens. It's kind of their evaluation period, and a time for citizens to look at them and what they've done in conjunction with, a new candidate, if there is one, to see who they think is best moving forward. So me running is not an indictment on anybody specific. Like I said, I think I have characteristics that will greatly benefit the district. And I really want our district to be forward thinking. And that's one thing that I can't say that they're not doing, because we have some great programs in the district. Don't get me wrong. We have a top-notch CTE program, career and technical program. We're increasing our STEM education to include middle school children as well. I just want to make sure we don't lose focus on that. I want to make sure that we are pushing the envelope and pushing our students as much as we can. That's something I know that when I sit down with the team of trustees to make decisions, whether it's budget or whatever it is, those are going to be the things that are in the forefront of my mind. Keeping and attracting and keeping the best possible educators, because we can't achieve any of our goals if we don't have the best of the best. And this is a very competitive environment we live in over here. So that it starts there. And in curriculum decisions, the Board of Trustees are not really involved in that, but there's things that the school district can do to either help teachers succeed in their mission, and there's things that they can do, sometimes unintentionally, to hurt or to get in the way. So I really want to make sure that we have people on the school board that are focused on the students exclusively and able to weed through anything else and just look at it through that lens, and to really be forward thinking. And again, I'm not saying that they're not doing that on the board. I think the people that serve on the board are clearly, they've chosen to serve because they care as well about the school district. But I can tell you who I am and what I plan to bring, and that's definitely what I'm focused on.
Jared, what I can hear you saying is the things are going just fine. You just want to have those people, hey, you have your turn and let me take over now. Is that good enough and a reason for you to run for the office?
No, that would make it sound like it's more for me, and it's not.
Okay.
I don't have any ulterior motives. Believe me, I've got enough stuff to do. This has already been a sacrifice with my family and my work, to be able to start campaigning even as early as we are. So I don't get any personal I mean, I've enjoyed campaigning. I've enjoyed getting to know people, but I'm not doing this just to have a turn. I'm doing this because I think that we can be better, and I think we can push a little further. And I'm not going to be a person at meetings that just raises my hand and doesn't ask questions and just votes with everybody else. And make no mistake, I'm not interested in being a disruptor or a fire starter. I feel like I'm a very strong team player, but I'm gonna make sure that I make the right decisions, and I'm gonna analyze things critically. And that's something that I feel very passionate about, and something that I think sets me apart, would make me a better candidate.
Okay, so your background is peace officer.
Yes, sir.
You're going in to run not run, I mean, be the voice for the people of your constituency, to make a better education system that we have, which is already a better one, but you want to make it improve it. So if I were to ask you, what is your educational background that you can bring on the table
Sure.
for the district?
So my personal educational background.
Personal education background, as well as as an educationist, generally speaking, you bring more value to the board. I mean, people have expertise in the field. Once you're not in the system, how would you know what's wrong with the system? You know what I mean? So
Sure, that's a great point.
yeah, if you were, hypothetically speaking, if you were a teacher, I can understand that you go through, and now you see that, if because I have gone through from the grassroots, and now I can tell. I know you've been a student in the district, fine. You probably think that, okay, this is what I would do differently, but you're not a teacher, you're a peace officer, and then you want to, be in the board of trustees to give the directions to the district. So
Sure.
help me understand this equation.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we're really fortunate on the current board to have a retired teacher from the district that has graciously chosen to serve, and I'm glad that he's there. I think that is a valuable perspective. You're right. I'm not personally a teacher. I do instruction, teaching, law enforcement, more professional development, and I have taught at community colleges. So I have some experience in the classroom. But as far as the day-to-day teaching, you're right, that's not my area of expertise. It is my wife's area of expertise. She's in her 20th year of teaching public school. She's taught at the community college level and at high school. So certainly while I haven't been there alongside her, I've been in classrooms. I've heard the stories. I've heard the struggles. I've heard the ups and the downs. Her mother actually is a retired kindergarten principal and reading teacher. So, and we have lots of friends and family that are school counselors and teachers. So, yeah, it is a good perspective to have as an educator, but I think it's also a valuable perspective to have as a parent who's looking at it through a parent, number one, and then looking at the able to see the teacher's perspective because of my wife and other family members. Then also the law enforcement experience to be able to look at safety measures, right, and make sure that our school remains safe. And so those are all. I think that's a really great, unique combination that I would be able to bring.
I think that's a great combination. Peace officer brings a lot of equity with that, and having a resource at home who is a teacher in 20 years, and on top of that, you have an experience of being in the public service arena, where you have, volunteer your time. That's a good combination. So if I were to ask you, maybe I'm just throwing this hypothetical numbers. You just have to stop it any way you like. 2, 3, 4, 5 good reasons that you would like to do differently for the district that can improve the education standard or the safety standard, or for that matter, will save the dollar amount to the citizens, because the chunk of the money that citizens pay goes to the school district, and in return, what is the standing of the school districts? You know what I mean? Why the number of students are not meeting the standard that is required by the state or the federal law? Why are we not as competitive as our neighboring school districts are, for example? Or if I were to ask you this, that okay, that may not happen. That do you think that if you manage it well, then probably the budget will go into a surplus rather than going into, always we are in the need of, okay, we have to build a new school, we need to raise more taxes. So how can you just give me like 2, 3, 4 reasons, whatever, even
Yeah.
one reason is fine.
No, yeah, those are a lot of great points, and
Mhm.
you're right. I mean, it's important for everybody, that's especially homeowners, to pay attention to what's going on in the school district, because if you look at your property tax statement, the largest percentage of your property taxes are going to the local school district. Whether you have children in the district or not, whether they're in private school, whether you're a grandparent with no kids in the district, you're paying into the school taxes, and so and it's quite a bit. Now, there was a new law a few years ago that makes school funding a little bit more equitable, depending no matter what district you're in. It kind of they stagger the state funding based off of how much property tax revenue you're able to generate. But the bottom line is, we have to be good stewards of the people's money. Number one, it is the people's money, and then we have to make sure we're stretching every dollar as far as we can and doing it in the right ways, right? And that's why it's so important to look at these issues critically when they come in front of us, because there's all these competing interests and needs that are all good, right? We can put a proposal for a multi-million dollar athletic facility, and we can listen to the experts talk about the great benefit that that would bring, and it would have great benefits. But if there's also other competing interests, say in technology, that we need to get more laptops, or we need to increase teacher salary even more, then there are gonna be some tough decisions that have to be made. And that's when I come back to the priority of pushing our students further. And in order to do that, we have to have well-paid teachers that don't leave, don't go to other districts, don't go to the private sector. When we look at the numbers, and it's kind of hard because TEA is a little behind because COVID, they're not doing the STAR testing in the past couple of years. And of course, the STAR testing has its limitations as well as far as an assessment. But you look at the STAR test numbers, and we're okay as far as the state averages go in areas like kindergarten readiness, third grade reading, fourth grade math, eighth grade science, I believe is the metrics. But we're behind in our other, compared to our other area districts around here: Keller, HEB, Grapevine, Colleyville. Our college readiness, as of a few years ago, was only 26%. So that means only 26% of our high school students that are graduating from one of our 4 high schools are ready for college, according to the TEA. Now, we have a great career and technology program, so I like to think a lot of those kids are going into straight to work and are very employable. So I don't want to say that every kid has to go to college. And we do have a high graduation rate, higher than the state average. But there's clearly a deficiency there, right? When you look apples to apples, district to district, in the same part of the same county, we are not measuring up. Kindergarten readiness, for example, we are, let's see if I can find the numbers here. We are 49% kindergarten readiness compared to around 70% for our neighboring districts. So, and hopefully that will improve with more kids in pre-K, which is now something that's required in some cases by the state. But that's definitely one area that we need to work harder on. The learning gap caused by COVID is only going to make things worse, especially for kids my daughter's age. The kids that are in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade now will miss education that they will never get back, and because there's a learning loss from virtual learning, all the disruptions of the pandemic. I can almost guarantee that when we look at their SAT scores in several years, they won't be where the kids are nowadays. But we have to work very, very hard right now. There needs to be a huge emphasis on getting those kids back up to speed, and whatever means necessary. And another area, real quick, that I've noticed that we're in need of improvement is with the diversity of our faculty. Birdville ISD has a very large, our whole area has a very large Hispanic population. In fact, it's the largest population. I believe it's 43% or so. And yet our Hispanic faculty members, our Hispanic teachers, are underrepresented. And I know I don't pretend to have the magic pill where I can snap my finger and make that happen. But again, it comes down to looking at things through a certain lens and being aware of what we do well and where our shortcomings are, so that every decision we make, we have those things in the forefront of our mind and we could incrementally improve.
You have touched very many points that I have written down, but I just want you to briefly talk about, the technology. You touched upon technology and, having access to Wi-Fi for the students. It can be very helpful, but at the same time, it's very, distractive in terms of, kids do get distracted because they are spending more time on the social media. Then they will be reading books or being engaged in the other activities. Uh, and then diversity, you talk about the teacher, but we also know that there is a diversity in the students as well.
Sure.
And then there is another. I don't want to make it a political, but it's a concern as a parents that sometimes the religious invocation and the prayers in the school can be very offensive for some people because not everybody follow the same faith. So, what is your directions towards that? These 3 points that I touched upon: diversity in the students, prayers, obviously, and the third one is: do you think the technology is helping or distracting the standard of education that once our students used to pursue by reading books versus now? I know they say that they're reading it on their you know Chromebook or iPad, but they are probably end up being somewhere on the TikTok or any other social media channel. So how would
Yeah,
you?
and there are. I'm not going to pretend to have like a conclusive study as to, and I think we won't really know for a few years how technology may truly be helping or hurting things
Mhm,
like reading. It's clear that technology as a society has helped us way more than it has hurt us. I mean, the
mhm,
fact that we're able to do this, right, and broadcast it all
uh-huh,
around the world.
yeah,
And there are so many job opportunities that our students are going to have that you and I never dreamed of. My daughter's already better at a lot of things technology at 7 than I am.
correct.
But certainly there could be some drawbacks, right? And I think certainly with a school issued Chromebook, there's going to be measures in place, hardware that will prevent, and software rather, that will prevent them going to social media. Of course, kids are pretty smart. Um, so yeah, I think there needs to continue to be a balance in different types of educational platforms. As far as the diversity of students go, that is something that obviously, if you haven't noticed, I don't bring a whole lot of diversity to the board, and I'm well aware of that. And when this whole idea started, I I wasn't planning on running. I was planning on trying to recruit and encourage other people to run that might bring diversity to the board. Our board has some diversity, but it is a lot of people that look like me. I'm going to be honest. Um, but to this day, nobody's stepped up that I've been willing to get behind and support. That could still happen. And I think that's an important part of not just our faculty, but our school board trustees as well. But what I can do is focus on representing every student, every faith, every ethnicity, every race, every social and economic background. Um, I'd like to think that I've got enough life experience and worldview. I've traveled around the world. I've got made friendships with all different type of people. I'm willing to go anywhere that I'm asked to go and meet whoever I'm asked to meet. And I think everybody should have a voice at the table. And I'm going to try my darndest, if elected, and during this campaign, to be out in communities that are traditionally not heard as much and not represent, or at least don't feel like they're represented much. And I may not look like those folks in those communities necessarily, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to listen and I don't want to represent them well. And then your other question was about prayers in schools, and that's obviously a very touchy subject, especially here in the South, right, in Texas. If you didn't know, and you probably don't follow Birdville policies that closely, but several years ago there was actually a lawsuit that changed the prayer that was done at the board meetings, the school board meetings. So now it's no longer a required prayer. It's an open student message. Sometimes the student chooses to pray. Sometimes they choose to read poetry or say something else or sing. And so I think I don't know the whole story behind it, but obviously somebody was offended by doing the prayer. As a Christian, Christian prayers don't bother me at all. naturally because they're praying to my God. But there is such a thing as a separation of church and state, and we represent and we serve all students. And I'm not saying there's never an occasion for a prayer to be said, but we do have to be very cautious when we are doing prayers as part of a routine procedure or routine element to certain ceremonies or events where all students are going to be there, because we don't want anybody to feel, excluded. And so I'm not quite sure what the perfect solution is, because no matter what decision you make, you're going to offend certain people.
Correct. Well, and last 1 minute that we have of our show, would you give our audience your platform that you're running at? I know I took you from all the way from A to Z, north to south, but I do want you to give your platform for our audience, and including when is the election and how can they reach you?
Absolutely. Well, they can reach me at ross4bisd.com. My email's on there. All the links to my social media accounts are on there. So certainly I would appreciate anybody liking, following, sharing our content, assuming that you like who I am and you want to support our campaign. Financial donations are always needed. You don't have to live in the area. Anywhere in the country, you can donate at ross4bisd. We would appreciate any kind of support we can get, but especially if it's from folks that are local here. The election is, like I said, April 25th is early voting, and then May 7th. So is the election day. So we're going to be out quite a bit between now and then, trying to just meet people. As far as my platform goes, it all comes down to a few basic things that I've already touched on. I believe our board should be a member of the community, should be a part of the community, should be open, communicative, and transparent. And that's something that I've learned as a police officer, that if you don't have that public trust, you're not going to be able to govern well. We need to support our teachers by giving them a value, giving them a sense of value, valuing their expertise and their experience, and paying them a competitive salary so that we can attract the best possible teachers. We need to continue to do whatever we can to make our kids career and college ready, and not just ready, but ready to excel. I'm not happy with just okay. They're going to be entering college and entering the job market with all these other kids and people from all over the world that are moving to the North Texas region to compete for these jobs. We got a lot of great job opportunities here, and I want our kids to be right there at the tip of the spear, ready to compete in the future economy.
Thank you, Jared, and thank you for being in the show. And I will look forward to having you back when the election are closer, and then see how your campaign is going. And good luck with your election. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and take it. So the listeners, that all we have for up until now. Take good care of yourself. Until next time, goodbye.